Okay, hello everybody. I'm seeing some attendees are filtering through, so we'll get started now and everyone will be able to join us. So thank you for joining us today from wherever you are based around the country. I hope you're all well. Bear with us today because due to increased demand, our original platform has been a bit inundated. So we're using a new facility today. So it's all looking absolutely fine so far, but if anything happens, please just do bear with us. We should be absolutely fine. So today we have teamed up with STEM Learning to explore essentially how IES members can get more involved in their ambassador scheme and encourage the next generation to pursue a career in one of the STEM subjects, which are science, technology, engineering and maths. So currently we have quite a large number of our members who are already STEM ambassadors, but there's always an opportunity to engage even more of our members and your expertise in this programme and look at ways in which those who already are ambassadors, how you can utilise that platform a little bit more. So Natalie Chung today is joining us and she's going to present a webinar with us looking at the opportunities that are available and how the scheme works. So Natalie is a STEM Ambassador Coordinator at STEM Learning and is excellently placed to answer all of your questions. Throughout the webinar, feel free to submit questions to Natalie. So if you scroll to the bottom of your page, there should be at the bottom a little bar that pops up. Within that bar, there is a Q&A box. If you click on that and submit a question at any point, I will be able to ask Natalie this question on your behalf at the end. So do feel free to submit them as and when you have them, and we'll ask them and cover them all hopefully at the end. So we've got half an hour or so for Natalie to introduce the scheme and then a few minutes afterwards for the questions. So I will hand over to Natalie and yeah, off we go. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Rihanna. Hello to everyone who's joining wherever you are. As Rihanna says, I'm Natalie Chung. I'm a member of the STEM Learning team that helps to deliver the STEM Ambassador Programme, which we'll be getting into shortly. So today's session is just an introduction into the scheme and the impact that it has and why it's important actually to have people who are within STEM fields volunteering and inspiring young people. Before we kick off properly today, I want to share our social media. I think there's a lot of meetings and training and events that are transitioning and being online in this bit of a weird time, but the IES was already very well set up to be holding today's webinar, and it was always planned to be a webinar. So I think it's great to be shouting about all the things that you're doing and also sharing the training that we're involved with today. Liviana has these links which can be shared during or after today's session. So as Rihanna says, I'm a STEM Ambassador Coordinator. I sit as part of the London team focusing on delivering the programme within the London boroughs. However, this is a national programme and we are really keen to hear from new STEM ambassadors and existing STEM ambassadors from across the country. I've also been a STEM ambassador myself since I was doing my undergraduate studies in Manchester. I studied engineering, and that's the first time that I really recognised the importance of working with young people. So many people didn't know about all the amazing careers that there are in STEM, and there's a huge opportunity to help to broaden their horizons through sort of face-to-face engagements and other events that I'll be discussing shortly. So the STEM Ambassador Programme, first thing that you need to know that it is government funded, so it's funded by the Department for BEIS, Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, because they recognise that there is a serious STEM skills shortage. Not enough people are coming into the industry with the right skills in science, technology, engineering and maths. And it's good for the UK economy. They need to find young people who are interested and passionate and can thrive in these STEM industries and give them the tools and the confidence to succeed and progress in those careers. STEM ambassadors come from a whole wide range of different fields, and we use the term STEM extremely loosely. So across our cohort of STEM ambassadors, we have people who came from a STEM background, perhaps they studied science and maths, but actually now in their job they do something which isn't technically a STEM focused job, but there are a huge amount of skills that they use in their day-to-day job, even if they don't describe themselves as a STEM professional. Similarly, we have volunteers who don't come from a STEM background but have found themselves working in a STEM industry, and there are a huge number of roles across the different industries that don't require a academic or educational background in science, technology, engineering and maths. For example, we have volunteers who are lawyers and have now ended up working at a tech firm and want to share the opportunities that there are for tech and law together, and because that's something that a lot of young people wouldn't consider if they were thinking about future careers. And the whole aim of the programme is to inspire young people to pursue STEM. And what we found from our impact reports is that 90% of young people increase their engagement in STEM after working with STEM ambassadors, and that's after just one engagement. So it's really, really fantastic to be able to bring the real life role models, which I'm hoping that you'll join us in our cohort of STEM ambassadors, and bring them in contact with young people so that they can have increased STEM enrichment and also a better careers provision. We work with a whole range of different organisations. So the STEM Ambassador Programme is delivered by STEM Learning, who also deliver other programmes directly with education providers, particularly CPD training courses for teachers. We work with schools, colleges, universities, with young people directly. We also work with non-school groups, and that's something that is really growing, and that's something that we are really keen to support. Non-school groups could be things like community groups, youth groups, girl guides, scouts, etc. We're really proud to be working with a whole wide range of STEM ambassadors, and then also the organisations that they come from, whether that's a membership body like IES or their employers. We also partner with other non-profit and charity organisations who are within the same space, whether that's education, youth work, careers advice or something else. So STEM ambassadors come from across the country. I'm based, as I said, within the London team, focusing on the London boroughs, but then we have 19 regional hubs across the country who helps us deliver the same STEM ambassador programme with a more sort of regional focus. You are joining a cohort of over 30,000 volunteers, and as I said, they really do represent a wide range of STEM fields, and we really want to highlight that for young people. And why is this important? So looking at these graphs and these charts here, starting on the left in the yellow, at the end of primary school in year 6 with students aged 10 to 11, they say that they are interested in things that they are learning in science. So that's 72% of girls and 75% of boys say that they are interested in things that they are learning in science. And you can see as we progress to the right, as the young people progress through secondary school and their teen years, that this number goes down. It goes down to a pretty dismal 33% of boys and 19% of girls who are actually pursuing STEM in their A-levels. Of course, we know that A-levels is not the only educational route, particularly as industry is focusing a lot on apprenticeships and vocational qualifications. But looking at these numbers, you can see that there is a huge decrease in the interest and the take-up of STEM subjects. And I'm sure that we'll all have anecdotal experience, maybe from your own education, perhaps of young people that you know. A lot of young people really don't have any idea of why maths and science might be interesting or useful in the real world. It's very common for students in class to be asking, when am I ever going to use this maths in real life? It's not relevant to me. And there's also other problems. So you can see that there is a difference between sort of male and female students. Anecdotally, I found that in my A-level science classes, I was the only girl in all of my classes by the time I was 17 and 18 years old. So this is common and replicated across schools around the world and across the country, because a lot of people find that there are misleading stereotypes and misconceptions about different STEM fields, and they can sort of reduce take-up from people who could really end up thriving in those industries. There's no one reason for this decrease. Young people, as we know, have a lot of different influences. but it does largely come down to lack of exposure. If we think about the careers provision, cast your mind back to when you were at school yourself. What sorts of careers provision did you have when you were at school? The job that you're doing now, did you know that job even existed when you were a teenager? A lot of people would say that their career provision wasn't sufficient and wasn't as good as it could be, and that they have ended up in a job that they didn't necessarily know about when they were students themselves. And this is where we want to sort of close the gap. And by doing that, by helping those who are already in the field, whether they're students, working, or even retirees, helping them to connect with school-aged children from the age of 5 to 19. By doing that, we can help to raise awareness about all the different careers, increase motivation at school, and help them to relate what they're learning in the curriculum with the real world. But it is largely down to lack of exposure, and that's where you come in. So here's a picture of a scientist, which a 14-year-old drew, a real 14-year-old drew a picture of a scientist. And this is a very common picture that you would probably see in like a Hollywood movie. It's very stereotypical. If you study science, you become a scientist. And what do all scientists do? Following the stereotype, they all wear white lab coats, these weird goggles, and have a mysterious substance. I don't know. And so this was a drawing by a 14-year-old at this, before they had a STEM ambassador engagement. And after they had an engagement with a STEM ambassador, this was the drawing that they drew for a scientist. So a very, very different image. And they actually drew the STEM ambassador who came in to visit them. So you can see how they sort of opened the mindset of the young people and changed their mindset about what sort of person would become a scientist. I'm not saying that there's not scientists who look like the image on the before picture on the left. I'm sure that we all know some scientists who look like the before picture, but the point is that there's also scientists who look like the lady on the right, the after picture. Here is another image from the same engagement. So this is a drawing by another teenage student. So similar sort of theme, they've got some sort of unusual substance, the white lab coat. There always seems to be some sort of crazy hair involved when you're drawing a scientist. Again, this is an image that we see sort of replicated across media and is not representative of the wide range of roles that people can go into if they pursue science. And here's the image that they drew after the STEM ambassador came to visit. So the STEM ambassador was a marine biologist, and this is an image that they drew to represent the work that they could be doing if they pursued sciences. You can see that there's a huge difference here, and it really is about busting stereotypes and breaking down the misconceptions to help young people open their eyes into what is out there and that it is actually something suitable for someone like them. So STEM Ambassadors Programme, here's some quotes from the government. So looking at the quote on the left, the UK's economic future lies in high value, innovative and knowledge intensive activities. To pursue this course, a highly skilled science, technology, engineering and mathematics workforce is essential. And then again, on the right, this is from the Department of Bays, the funders for the STEM Ambassador Programme. Looking at the second half, they say the STEM Ambassadors Programme is an important part of our efforts to increase the supply of people with STEM skills in the economy. There's a huge wealth of talent out there, but a lot of young people might not think that pursuing STEM is for them for whatever reason. And we don't want to have STEM ambassadors only encouraging students to pursue STEM, because there are many other careers and skills required elsewhere, but young people need to know that STEM careers are an option. If they don't know that it's an option, they will never consider it. I want to spend some time looking at this slide, which looks at the different types of things that you could be doing as a STEM ambassador volunteer. The first thing I want to say is that STEM ambassador volunteering is very, very flexible. You only have to volunteer once a year to stay on our books, and that could be as short as a 15-minute careers presentation in a school assembly, for example. Most of our volunteers do more than that, but I appreciate Everyone's busy and has different commitments and different amounts of time that they can commit to volunteering. And please note that our volunteering scheme is very flexible and it doesn't have to take up a lot of your time. And we have some fantastic volunteers who only volunteer once a year, perhaps for a regular annual event or a visit to their kids' primary school. And those volunteers are extremely valuable to us as well. So looking at the different types of activities, I'm going to go through them and to give you a flavour of the wide variety of different activities that a STEM ambassador can volunteer for. Firstly, classroom activities are very popular with our school contacts. Teachers are keen to have STEM ambassadors come in to talk about things that they are doing in their day-to-day job that can relate to the topics that they're teaching in class. We also are keen to support STEM club activities. STEM clubs could be based at a school, perhaps in after school hours, and they can also be based in places like libraries, museums, youth groups, etc. STEM clubs often like to have hands-on activities, so you could be there delivering or supporting a fun, hands-on, science-based or STEM-based activity, and that will enrich the young people's learning. Careers Talk are also a really popular way for STEM ambassadors to get involved. We all have an education and career path to date that is absolutely worth sharing. Young people are fascinated by the different steps that we can take, and something that's really key to share, if you feel comfortable to, is a time that your career path didn't go to plan. I think there's a lot of teenagers who think you have to have your whole career planned out ahead of you and that's how you become successful, and when actually as adults we know that for most people that is not the case. Your career can take lots of unexpected twists and turns and you can end up in a field that you have never even heard of. A lot of young people today will be ending up in jobs that they don't know, that don't currently exist, with the rate of technology and innovation in STEM industries. But it's important to highlight your career path and what you do in your job as part of a careers talk. Speed networking is a particularly popular activity for new STEM ambassadors and is something that I would recommend. So how it works is it's kind of like speed dating, although we don't call it that. Basically, small groups of young people will rotate around different professionals and they'll speak to each individual for 5 or 10 minutes and do a Q&A. So it's a great opportunity for new STEM ambassadors or those perhaps who are less confident to talk about what they do in their job and how they got to where they are in front of a small group and have really valuable Q&A, two-way conversation. Something that is becoming more and more popular is online mentoring. So online mentoring is a great way to build up a longer term relationship with individual young people, and that's something that we really recommend. We partner with different organisations and charities who do fantastic online mentoring programs, and we really encourage our STEM ambassadors to get involved. Site visits and hosting work experience. This may be something that your organisation, university or employer does already. And if any of you have hosted a work experience placement, it can be a huge eye-opener. For example, I held a visit for teenage students from East London to visit an engineering office in the centre of London. And it was a huge eye-opener, and not just for the reasons that I had expected. So young people might have exposure to workplaces like yours, but chances are they don't. And it's really about opening their eyes to roles that do not already exist within their family network, their parents' friends, and their community. So there were lots of things that these teenage students were really excited about, things that I actually thought were pretty mundane and pretty boring. I walked in thinking it was just a normal office, but the young people were getting really, really excited about the stationery cupboard and the printers and the view from the London office. The teacher actually shared with me that for some of those East London students, this was their first time taking the tube. They had never actually stepped foot into the city of London, and it was a great opportunity for them to not only visit the office and see what they do, but also to meet a wide range of professionals and to be treated as sort of adults by these professionals, so that they can really envision themselves working in an office space like that. And that was a real eye-opener for me, actually, to realise how valuable those experiences are, as I hadn't realised how little some young people will know about the different workplaces. So even if you don't have an exciting outdoor site or lab to show them, even if you just think it's a boring old mundane same old office, there is actually a great opportunity to host site visits and even a work experience, work shadowing teenage student if you are able to. Next, moving on to science festivals and fairs. This is something which we are really keen to push STEM ambassadors to do, because a science festival is where a lot of different organisations, employers, universities, etc. will be setting up a stand to engage with young people, and there will be young people coming from perhaps across the country, lots of different schools, all coming into one place to learn about STEM. And there's always a really great energy because there's so much going on, and it's a fantastic opportunity for STEM ambassadors to engage with lots of young people who are focused and thinking about STEM all within one day. And lastly, non-school groups. So non-school groups is something that I really want to highlight, because a lot of people think of only school-based activities when they think of STEM ambassador activities. Schools are fantastic places for learning, of course, but there is also a great opportunity to engage young people outside of school. So I've already mentioned libraries, youth groups, groups like Girl Guides or Boy Scouts, and also we work with museums. So if there's any groups that you want to get involved with, we're keen to support you with that. We just want to engage with young people and their influencers, so teachers and parents, wherever they are. So if you do have any ideas, get in touch with myself or your regional STEM ambassador hub. Another one which I haven't included here, which is becoming more and more popular and might be particularly of interest to IES members, is mentoring and judging projects. So lots of students will be working on STEM or science-based projects in their classrooms, in STEM clubs or outside of school. And for these projects, they are often seeking sort of mentorship to help them brainstorm ideas and to help them to progress with their project development. And they are also looking for judges who will be judging students on their projects from a presentation or a video. This is something that's becoming more and more popular, and there's many competitions where students can submit projects, or they might be submitted for them by their school. I mentioned that this might be of particular interest to IES members because there are a huge amount of competitions and projects out there, all based around sustainability. And the environmental science side of it is particularly key, and something that, as we know, a lot of young people are becoming more and more passionate about. So keep that in mind when you're looking at activities. And again, I just wanted to stay on this slide to highlight all the different things that STEM ambassadors can do. There really is a huge range. So whatever it is that you're looking to do, whether it's because you have expertise in it, or you want to develop your own skills, and you want to specialize in that, there's absolutely just something for you to volunteer with. Okay, so moving on. Here are some of the key reasons and the key motivations to become a STEM ambassador. We find that all of our volunteers have different motivations, but here are some of the key ones. Firstly, as I mentioned, to address the STEM skills shortage. Building the future talent pipeline is really, really crucial for the industry and the economy as a whole. A lot of people want to give back to the local community and also to young people, and helping young people to realise how what they're learning in school is applied in the real world. Some of our STEM ambassadors don't actually work directly with young people at all, but they work very closely with teachers, schools, careers advisors, also parents, and those influencers can do a really amazing work to support young people in their key decisions. So when people volunteer, they're doing something different from the day-to-day job, and they're also developing employability skills, particularly things like communication and leadership. STEM ambassadors get a wide range of networking opportunities, particularly if you are volunteering in large events alongside other STEM ambassador volunteers. And we also find that STEM ambassadors have increased job satisfaction because they are going out there and getting away from the day-to-day menial tasks and zooming out and really thinking about what impacts does my job have on the outside world. And that can help increase motivation and job satisfaction. Looking at some of the impact on young people, after just one engagement with STEM ambassadors, as I mentioned, 90% of young people are more engaged in STEM. They also have an increased awareness of the importance of STEM and a better understanding of why STEM subjects are particularly important in the workplace. So that's something that I want to highlight. So 90% of students find that after a STEM ambassador engagement, they have a better understanding about what they're learning and how it's relevant in the workplace. This helps to increase motivation, and there's studies to note that it also helps to increase attainment. So it actually helps young people motivate themselves towards better grades. We also note that there's an impact on STEM ambassadors. So alongside the reasons that I listed before for motivations for becoming a STEM ambassador, here are some numbers to support that. We do find that people, as with all volunteering, they get a sense of satisfaction for giving back, a sense of achievement, helps to boost people's confidence and also their employability skills. Here's a quote from a STEM ambassador where they say that STEM ambassador volunteering helped them to develop their communication skills to a point where they're able to communicate with pupils of all different levels, abilities and backgrounds. And this is something that I can definitely back up. Speaking about your work and your project with a peer or a manager or someone else within your field or a client is very, very, very different to speaking about it with a 5-year-old or with a teenager. And I think I learned a lot of skills about public engagement and learning how to explain what I do in without using jargon and in simple terms that can be understood by the general public, including young people as young as 5. Here's some of the numbers to show the impact on teachers and schools of the STEM Ambassador Programme. So the STEM Ambassador Programme helps teachers to improve how they contextualise the curriculum. It helps them to better articulate information about STEM careers, increases teachers' motivation and their confidence in teaching STEM subjects, and also helps schools to build up relationships with STEM businesses. All schools already have some form of careers provision, but what we really want to do is help to build links with organisations and roles that they don't already have relationships with. So ones outside of the community, outside of the teacher's circle, and outside of the parent network. Finally, looking at the impact on organisations, whether you are part of a university, you're members of the IES, or whether it's your employer, a lot of our key company partners are keen to get huge numbers of their staff registered and volunteering as STEM ambassadors because they recognise the benefits of it for themselves. So firstly, the impact on CSR targets are something that's key. Corporate social responsibility, whether it's mandated for their projects or something that the company feels a responsibility to do. This is a big part of giving back and working with the local community. Working with the local community can help improve local recruitment, particularly for organisations who are looking to recruit school leavers, perhaps for entry-level jobs or apprenticeship schemes. It helps to improve brand awareness, and it also, as we mentioned before, helps with employees' motivations and employability skills. So these are some of the reasons stated from our key partner organisations for why they are encouraging their members and staff to get involved with the STEM Ambassador Programme. So what happens next? How do you actually become a STEM ambassador? So for those of you who haven't registered already, there are 3 key steps to becoming a STEM ambassador. Firstly, you register on our website. Secondly, complete an online induction. This gives a bit more background into the STEM ambassador program and gets you ready to volunteer, including important safeguarding information for young people. Thirdly, completing a DBS check, and this is a check to prove that you are okay to work with vulnerable young people, and this is something that we require from all STEM ambassadors. So firstly, again, signing up onto our website, so stem.org.uk, you can register on our website as a STEM volunteer in the bottom right hand corner. And completing the online induction. This is something that can be completed in your own time, and you can and watch the online videos to share your learning. And then third, the disclosure and barring service, the DBS check. So all STEM ambassadors have an enhanced DBS certificate. If you already have one, it may be possible to use the same one if you're registered on the update service, but your local hub or myself will be able to guide you through and support you through with that. And once you're registered, how do you find out about STEM Ambassador activities? Your organisation, and whether it's your employer or the IES, will be able to share particular activities, but then we also have a lot of requests coming through on the STEM Ambassador platform. So this works kind of like Craigslist. A teacher or a youth group leader will put up a request for a STEM ambassador, give a bit of description into the type of thing that they're looking for. And as you can see from this list taken from upcoming events in London, there really is a whole range. Something else to highlight is that I understand with the current situation and schools being closed for the foreseeable future, we are still really keen to engage with STEM ambassadors, and we have developed new ways for STEM ambassadors to volunteer while they're working from home, including virtual engagements with teachers and young people. So it may seem like things are closing at the moment, but there's still opportunities to volunteer, and we're keen for people to sign up at this time when we are able to support them more closely, so that when the schools reopen, we are ready to work with young people in schools and also non-school groups. The IES will be hosting upcoming training delivered by myself. This will be delivered at the IES offices in London. And this STEM Ambassador training will provide particular guidance around communicating with young people to best engage with them and to have the maximum impacts from your activities. This is something that we developed after recognising that a lot of our STEM ambassadors don't necessarily feel confident about engaging and communicating with young people. And it's something that we've developed with our partners in order to upskill our volunteers. So I hope that you will consider signing up for this activity. It's going to be held on the early evening, 5 to 7 p.m. on Thursday, the 14th of May. And again, that's at the IES offices in London. So that's all the slides that I have for today, and a very quick introduction into the STEM Ambassador Programme and all the different things that you could do as a STEM Ambassador, why it's important, and the impacts that you could be having. Again, please connect with us on social media. We are keen to hear from you, particularly the London Hub and my personal Twitter and LinkedIn. This is something that I control, and I'm keen to show off to other organisations about how this training webinar went, and it's something that they could also be following the IES to deliver. There's my email address. Please contact me if you do have any questions, but also your regional hub will be able to answer any questions you have about volunteering or registration as a STEM ambassador. Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like to open to any questions now. I understand that Rihanna has been fielding some questions.
Yeah, thank you, Natalie. That was really interesting, and so many opportunities for our members to get involved, which is great, and great also that you've got things going on online, because I know that's certainly a concern for a lot of our members of how they can still be effective, and with schools closing and things, it's nice to know that there are ways in which they can get involved and support.
Yes, definitely.
One quick question. I lost a tiny bit of connection talking about the DBS check, but one person has just asked that if there is a cost associated with that, who covers that element of the DBS check if they're becoming a STEM ambassador?
There is no cost to the volunteers for the DBS check and no cost to becoming a STEM ambassador. The cost of the DBS check is funded by the programme.
Brilliant. Okay, and you mentioned our event on the 14th of May. So obviously, considering the situation we're in now, we're just playing it by ear. But if we can't have a physical workshop where we deliver the training, Natalie and I are looking at how we can deliver that online as well. So do keep the date in your diary for now. We are hoping that there will be some sort of training be able to be delivered, whether it be virtual or face-to-face. But that event for now will hopefully go ahead. Just another question as well. You mentioned all the different things that people can get involved with, and once they become an ambassador, how they can get involved with different groups. If for those creative ones out there come up with new ideas, is that something that they come through their local hub with, or how do you kind of collaborate new ideas that professionals are coming to you with?
Yeah, absolutely. We're really keen to partner with teams and organisations and also individuals who come up with new ideas to engage with young people, and particularly if the ideas come from young people themselves. So if you do have any ideas, we are definitely keen to hear them. And also, I should note that activities that you do to influence sort of STEM and careers for young people and their influences can all be logged as a STEM ambassador activity. So many of our volunteers don't find requests through our platform, but they do work with other organisations where they volunteer. But those activities also count towards STEM ambassador activities. So for those of you who already work with
Okay.
perhaps a
And
lot
so
of
yeah. Sorry. In the immediate kind of future, with those who are already STEM ambassadors who want to get involved in a little bit more of like the online resources and supporting those kind of children and things that are now being homeschooled, is it yourself that they go through? How do they get involved if they're based all over the country? Is there one particular focus point for that, or is it still the local hub?
Yeah, get in touch with myself as things are moving very quickly, so is my team. And we've been sort of collating resources that include the STEM Learnings Resource Centre, which is an online library of different STEM resources. These are things which can be used by teachers, parents, STEM ambassadors, and also young people to sort of continue to enrich their learning in this time.
Brilliant, thank you. I don't think we've got any more questions coming in at the moment. So if anybody does have any questions, do feel free to submit them in the Q&A at the bottom. We, like Natalie says, we've got her email address there. And for any of our members who are registered STEM ambassadors or plan to become STEM ambassadors, any work that you do as an ambassador does count as CPD. So you can record that on our CPD tool quite easily and contribute to your quota throughout the year. I think, Natalie, because you gave such a detailed webinar, there's not a huge amount of questions about it. For those who want to get involved, complete their training and complete their enrolment and come to the training, do make and look on our being hosted in May. There are a few key steps that you need to complete to be able to attend that training and your progress through that up until that date. So do take a look on that. There are a couple of things that take a little bit of time, especially the CBS check. So complete as much as you can around that. Is there anything you want to add to the training that we need to complete before May, Natalie?
No, it's just that please get in touch with myself or your regional hub. We're really happy to support you. We understand that the registration, particularly the DBS process, can raise a number of questions, but just get in touch with us and we'll be able to sort of smooth out any queries that you have.
Brilliant. Okay, that's great. And a couple are already speaking their interest to get involved with the online stuff, especially now that schools are closed, which is excellent. If you do have any colleagues or that are also IES members, not yet STEM ambassadors, do encourage them to watch this webinar. We've recorded it and we'll put it on the members area and on the YouTube channel for you to watch. So do make sure that you encourage those around you who are potential STEM ambassadors to get involved in the scheme, because it's definitely a really positive thing for us to be partnering with and getting involved with. So thank you for all who logged in, and massive thank you for presenting today, Natalie. Like I say, this will be recorded and I will circulate it all to those who haven't been able to access it live. Any questions, either contact myself or Natalie, and please do sign up for the training if you're interested in May.
Great, thank you very much. I look forward to growing and supporting the IES STEM ambassadors.
Brilliant. Thanks, Natalie. Thanks very much.
Thank you.